to kind of just scoot in, save room for other people to come in, you know, crowded. That'd be very helpful. Let's stand together. We will go ahead and we'll take everybody as they come in. And don't show up. We're here to worship the Lord anyway. Amen. Let's worship together. Here I am. I've come to find you. Here I am to see your grace. To bring you an offering. I have to ask myself one thing. How can I do anything but praise? I praise for you are God, you are Lord, you are all I'm living for. You are King of everything. I want my life to praise you. Here I am, I've come to thank you. Here I am, my life is changed. Because you gave your life for me, you crucified your son for me. How can I do anything but praise? You are God, you are Lord, you are all I'm living for. You are King of everything. I want my life to praise you. You are God, you are Lord, you are all I'm living for. You are King of everything. I want my life to praise you. You are God, you are Lord, you are all I'm living for. You are King of everything. I want my life to praise you. I want my life to praise you. I want my life to praise you. Amen. Now, if you'll just, to save time, we just want you to shake hands with somebody that's right by you, not go all the way with you.
All right, good morning, Barners. Cold morning, right? We have just two short, quick announcements. First one is feed us plans. They have that chili supper. The sign-up list is on the folder right there. So please feel free to sign up on that. I'm sure that they can use our help at this time of the year, particularly. And then the last thing that we have on our list is Young at Heart will not be meeting Saturday the 1st. They'll be meeting Saturday the 8th. So just FYI. All right, I think that is it as far as the announcements. If we could have our offering service, please. Ushers, yes, that's it. I couldn't think of that. I'm getting old. It happens.
You have old Elvis?
I do. All right. Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for your love and your mercy and how you care for us. Lord, we pray that you would be with this offering that we take this morning. May it bless you and bless your ministry. We ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Then David praised the Lord in the presence of the whole assembly. O Lord, the God of our ancestor Israel, may you be praised forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty. Everything in the heavens and on earth is yours. Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as the one who is over all things. Wealth and honor come from you alone, for you rule over everything. Power and might are in your hand and at your discretion. People are made great and given strength. O our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name.
Majesty, worship His majesty. Unto Jesus be all glory, honor, and praise. that the way you feel about it this morning? Yes, sir. Lord, have your way in me. Well, thank you for braving it. It's really terrible out there. And it's going to be, I give you that, it's going to be bad out there. I believe that, but it hasn't come yet. And it's going to get there. It looks like it's just started to rain now, coming down out there, but we'll get by. But thank you. And for Thomas and Patsy and Susie and Pastor Candy and Carrie to brave to come out early so we could go over the worship songs and get familiar. They were dropping off like flies this morning, calling. Been up all night sick, can't make it. Poor Diane and Bruce, just several calling in and said they've been sick, gotten sick, and others saying they weren't coming because of the weather. And so, but we made it and we're here, right? And there's a reason for that. I believe there's a reason for that. And with everything that's been going on, a lot of stuff, right, has been going on in all of our lives, and especially within the life of our little church. A lot of stuff has been going on. I think it's been an onslaught of the enemy, trying to drag us down and get us discouraged, try to get us distracted, to cause us to think about other things or look at other things that are not where it should be. That's the devil's business. And if he can keep his people distracted, he's won, right? So as I challenge our staff and challenge myself and the board that we need prayer. We need to get back to the basics of prayer life. Putting first things first, right? And so this message came to me several weeks ago, and it's, if your Bible's in John chapter 18, the very towards the end of the chapter, verse 33, and it's actually the scripture from the lectionary for today. And I thought, how fitting, how fitting that the Lord allowed this to be the passage to preach from, and directing my thoughts in this way. But John's Gospel, chapter 18, beginning at verse 33. But before we get into that, let's recite our motto together, shall we? Together? Heavenly Father, I give you permission to speak to me, speak through me, to do whatever you want in my life. I trust the leadership of your Holy Spirit. And I do. Well, the Reverend Susan Sparks, senior pastor of the Madison Avenue Baptist Church in New York City, published a wonderful sermon online contrasting two kings. Elvis Presley, nobody knows who that is, I'm sure, the king of rock and roll, and Jesus, the king of all creation. This sermon was contrasting these two figures. And you might remember comedian Adam Sandler's comparison of the two kings, the two men, when he said, Jesus said, love thy neighbor. Elvis said, don't be cruel. Right? Jesus is part of the Trinity. Elvis's first band was a trio. Jesus is the Lord's shepherd. Elvis dated Sybil Shepherd. Well, you can find many other clever comparisons on various websites, I found. But Reverend Sparks, Susan Sparks, she knows that the devotion that many people still have for Elvis. And it's amazing. I've experienced that too. She said that while she was in Memphis not long ago, she visited Sun Records where Elvis recorded his first song. And in the studio there was an X marked on the floor with duct tape indicating the exact spot where Elvis stood to record his first song. The tour guide told them that just a week before, Bob Dylan had come into the studio, said not a word to anyone, walked over to the X, got down on all fours and kissed it. Got up and walked out. Now, that's a real tribute from one rock legend to another. Yeah. But Reverend Sparks also said she visited Graceland, and some of you have been there, some more recently than others. Graceland, Presley's home. And as she waited in line to buy tickets, she turned to one of the tour guides and asked, "So how long has it been since Elvis actually lived here?" Well, there was an audible gasp from the surrounding crowd. The guide looked at her with shock and whispered, "We don't use the past tense around here." She then pointed to her t-shirt that read, "Graceland, where Elvis lives." It didn't matter that she had never really actually seen Elvis, or that technically Elvis stopped walking this earth over 41 years ago. It didn't matter. She didn't care. Elvis fans don't care. Without any proof, they believe he lives. Elvis lives, baby. The king lives. Not only that, says Reverend Sparks, because they believe he lives, Elvis fans go out in the world and they share his message. They play Elvis music. They dress up as Elvis impersonators. They decorate their homes with Elvis memorabilia all over the place. And so I've been in some of our homes. And I see Elvis stuff, that's okay. She said one of her favorite things at the Graceland gift shop was an Elvis sprinkler. It was a foot-high plastic Elvis in a sequin jumpsuit, and as he watered your yard, he would swivel his hips. And then she had this interesting thought. Whether through word or music, impersonators or sprinklers, Elvis fans proudly proclaim the message of the King. Yeah, they do. Well, friends, welcome today on this last Sunday of the Christian year. And in some churches today, it's celebrated as Christ the King Sunday. In others, it's celebrated simply as the reign of Christ. That's why we sing songs geared towards our King, talking about our King. But the simple question that I would pose to us today is this question. Who is the King of your life? Who is the King of your life? In our lesson from John's Gospel, Pilate is interrogating Jesus before his crucifixion. Let's pick it up in verse 33 of John 18. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Well, is that your own idea?" Jesus asked, "or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and the chief priest handed you over to me. What is it that you've done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "So you are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I'm a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." Interesting, isn't it? I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, if Pilate thought he could intimidate Jesus, he was sorely mistaken. Right? If Pilate thought he was in control of this situation, he was also sorely mistaken. He might turn his prisoner over to the mob to be persecuted, but if he did, he'd simply be following the script laid out before the beginning of time. The Son of God would give his life that all of God's children might one day find life through him. That was the purpose. So I return to the question of the day, who's your king? Who's the most important in your life? I have a couple of points just to bring up. And it's starting to come down a little bit more. Where are we?
Thank you.
Number one, everybody worships something or somebody. Everyone worships someone, something, or somebody. Right? And if it's not Christ, then it's something or someone less important or less worthy. If it's not Christ, then it's something or someone less worthy. We've talked about this before, but it's really, really crucial to us. One of the 20th century's most perceptive theologians, Paul Tillich, once said that whatever is our ultimate concern in life, that is our God. Whatever is our ultimate concern in life, that is our God. It might be our appearance or our bank account. It might be some popular media personality. It might be our allegiance to our country or the quest for scientific truth or a host of other important concerns. It might be. Everybody worships something or somebody. It might be something as benign as the esteem of your peers. There are some of us who are so obsessed with what significant people in their lives think about them. And this obsession might not even be a conscious thing, but still it rates higher, as it rates a higher priority than their family life or even their relationship with God. That if standing up for Jesus would embarrass them in front of their peers, then they'll remain seated. Thank you very much. So what is it? What is it in our life that we value most? That you would not only die for, but that you would live for. What is it? Now I want you to think about it seriously, and I want you to be careful how you answer. You say it's just us here, so we're not hiding anything from anybody, right? It's just us. It's really a most difficult question, because some people will say, "Why Jesus is what matters most in my life," and yet when the time of testing comes, when the going gets tough and gets rough and gets hard, we discover that it's not really Jesus that matters most of all, but it's how we feel that matters. When the going really gets hard, when it gets tough, when things aren't going quite right. Are you with me? When our relationships are going south, when things just aren't going quite right, we want to take control because we're not happy and we need to be happy. Isn't that the way we think about it? I've been hearing that a lot the last couple of months. Well, I'm just not happy. Well, have you thought about what the Lord wants you to do in this situation? Well, I know I need to take care of myself. So really what they're telling me is who's really important in their life is them, not Jesus. Oh, we say Jesus is what really matters, right? We say that. But is he really what matters? And we really discover that it's not Jesus that matters most of all at all. It's the esteem with which our friends hold us that really matters most, because we have a reputation to uphold, right? We have what people think of us and how we are perceived with other people, how they think of us, that matters most of all. And you know what I found out, what I've come to believe? That some of us get along by just going along with the attitudes of our friends. Some of us get along by just going along with the attitudes of our friends. So let me ask you again, what is it in life that you value the most? What is it? Some of us say our family, right? In fact, we just had this conversation yesterday, I think it was. Or maybe it was the day before. Anyway. Family, that's good. Value your family, that's very good. However, let me just ask, do you value your family more than you value God? It's a tough call, isn't it? You know, some missionaries have had to make that decision. It's one thing to put themselves at risk serving Christ in a dangerous situation, but how about their spouse or, heaven forbid, their children? Is your family your greatest priority? I was reading several weeks ago, evangelical researcher and author George Barna, and some of you recognize that name. But he says that studies show that far more people in our country are willing to die for their country than they are their faith. They're far more willing to die for their country than they are their faith. I find that very revealing and rather disturbing, actually. Who is your king? And who or what do you worship today? Everybody worships something or somebody. Now let me go to the second thing. Biblical faith insists that God alone is worthy of our worship. Biblical faith insists that God alone is worthy of our worship. Now, such faith may demand extraordinary sacrifices. This kind of faith we're talking about may demand extraordinary sacrifices. We may have to put ourselves, our own feelings, on hold for a minute as we seek the mind of Christ, as we seek the will of God for us. Michael Malden, in an article in Christianity Today magazine, once told about a person who was willing to make Christ king of his life. But before co-founding the Habitat for Humanity, Millard Fuller was a very successful businessman who one day followed his estranged wife, his wife Linda, to New York to try to convince her to come back to him. She's not easily convinced that he could turn away from his headlong rush for material wealth, as he was well into. And so Millard Fuller recalls this. We were in a taxi right after Linda and I had a very tearful session. We'd gone to Radio City Music Hall, and they showed a movie there called Never Too Late. And it was about a woman getting pregnant after she thought it was too late to get pregnant. The message was that it's never too late to change anything. And I had a sensation of light in that taxi. It was not anything spooky, he says. All I can say it just came into my head. And here it was. Give your money away. Make yourself poor again. And throw yourself on God's mercy. So I turned to Linda and I said, I believe that God just gave me an idea. Gave me the idea to give all our money away. And to give everything away. She looked at him with a startled look, and then she said, I agree. Let's do it. Friends and family and even pastors tried to talk him out of it, but Millard Fuller believed that God was calling them to live a radical new life, and they ended up building one of the great ministries for helping people of modern times, Habitat for Humanity. Millard Fuller and his wife Linda gave everything away. Not everyone is called to make a sacrifice like that. And that's not the point this morning. But here's the point. Would you be willing to if Jesus asked you to do it? Would you be willing to if Jesus asked you to do it? That's the question. Bishop William Willimon says that he's still haunted by a long conversation he had with a man who was a member of one of his early congregations. This man told Willimon that one evening, returning from a night of poker with some of his pals, he had a stunning vision of the presence of the risen Christ. That Christ appeared to him, very undeniably, vividly appeared to him, he said. And yet, though this event shook him and stirred him, in 10 years he had not ever told anyone about this experience until he told Willimon, his pastor. So, Will Willimon pressed him on his silence and asked him, was he embarrassed? Was he fearful that others would make fun of him or fail to believe that it really happened to him? No, the man said, that was none of it. The reason that I told no one was I was too afraid that it was true. And if it's true that Jesus was really real and that he had come personally to me, what then? I'd have to change my whole life. I'd have to become some kind of radical or something. And I love my wife and my family, and I was scared that I'd have to change to be somebody else that I didn't want to be and destroy my family if the vision was real. So I didn't tell anybody because I was afraid it was real. Wow. That's a powerful thought, isn't it? That's a very powerful thought. If Jesus is real, and if we should encounter him, then what are the implications of that experience for our life? If Jesus is real, and if we should encounter him, then what are the implications of that experience in our life? Can I ask you, is Jesus real?
Absolutely.
Do we act like it? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. faced that question. He was preaching in front of the Ebenezer Baptist congregation in Atlanta, a congregation that he loved. Dr. King told them just 2 months before his funeral, he told that congregation how he would like to be remembered. And in doing so, he zeroed in on that ultimate question. Is Christ King? And he said, if Christ is King, what does that mean? And here's what he said. If Christ is the ruler over our lives, he told them, then my Nobel Peace Prize is less important than my trying to feed the hungry. If Christ is King, then my invitations to the White House are less important than that I visited those in prison. If Christ is Lord, then my being Time Magazine's Man of the Year is less important than that I tried to love extravagantly, dangerously, with all my being. Wow. If Jesus is real and if Christ is the King, nothing else really matters, does it? So Dr. King was right, wasn't he? That if Christ is real, and if he is our King, then nothing else matters quite as much as that one thing. Is God first? Why? Why is that so important? It's because we know we can trust Him. We can trust Him with our families. We can trust Him with our personal destinies. We can trust Him with everything that is important to us. We can trust Him with whatever we think is going wrong in our life. We can trust Him to handle it. But instead, we think we have to figure it out first. With me? And with everything that is important, we can face the future confidently, triumphantly, if Christ is King of my life. The problem is acting on that belief. Right? Why? Because we're too afraid. We hold back. We're scared. We say we believe it, and we want to. We really want to, but we just can't get over ourselves. On July the 20th, 1969, U.S. astronaut Neil Armstrong, you remember him, right? Became the first human being to set foot on the moon. And President Richard Nixon acclaimed the event as the greatest one event since the creation. And Armstrong himself, as he took that last step from the ladder of his lunar module onto the moon's surface, you remember what he said? That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. He was a devout Christian, Neil Armstrong. And he visited the old city of Jerusalem, and at the Hulda Gate, which leads to the Temple Mount, Armstrong wanted to know if Jesus had actually walked on those very steps. They had assured him that he did. And Armstrong said, I have to tell you, I am more excited about stepping on these stones than I was stepping on the moon. Why was he so excited? Because Christ is King of all creation, the moon and the stars. I have to tell you one more story, and it's just now starting to get a lot white. Just a little cover out there. But I understand that in Berlin, Germany, the art gallery there, that there's a painting by a famous artist, Adolf Menzel, that's only partially finished. It's supposed to be a painting of King Frederick of Germany. And in the painting, Frederick is talking to his generals. And Menzel painstakingly painted the generals first. So they were all around the outside of the painting, and the king was left until last. You can't hardly see it. We're working on trying to get this thing fixed. But we found out it may not be the projector after all, so we're thankful for that. But anyway, he painstakingly painted all the generals first. They were around the outside of the painting. The king was left until last, leaving a bare patch in the middle of the painting with the background of all the generals. The only problem was Menzel died before he could finish the painting. So there's his painting in the art gallery, full of generals and no king. It's just a metaphor of how many people are living their lives with no king. A lot of generals. You know, we say that a lot when families are around. We've got a lot of chefs in the kitchen, but no. Andy, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't happen in your place. Living our lives with no kings. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Everybody worships something or somebody. Ultimately, if we do not worship Christ, then who's left to worship? Ourselves. If we're not worshiping Christ, then we're worshiping ourselves. And that's where our problem is. Because the problem with that is, we cannot save ourselves. We cannot save ourselves. So, let me ask you. It's just us here, right? We're just family. Is Christ the king of your life? Is Christ really the king of your life? And if so, does it show? Does it show? Man, it's not even 11 o'clock yet, it's just 10 to. That's pretty good. I want us to close. I want us to sing another song, and I want this, and we're going to close. You said, man, you didn't even pray. Well, that's on purpose. I waited till now to pray. Because I want to include in my pastoral prayer, a prayer for all of us. But I want to give us an opportunity to gather around the front. And I've asked Susie and Carrie to help me lead this song. As we come to this place again as a church, we can't help what other people are doing. We can't control that. They can. Only God can, right? Right. But we can control what we do, our response. And I just pray that our response to the question, who is the king of my life? And if I really am worshiping him, does it really show in my life? Is he really first in my life? So here's my heart, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. I give it to you. Would you speak what is truth to me? Speak what is truth. And may I be willing to follow that truth. So that's the message. I want us to sing this song together. So if Susie can lead us.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. 'Cause I am bound, I am yours, I am loved, I am made whole, I am alive, I am free, I am healed, I am free. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. 'Cause you are strong, you are sure, you are life, you endure, you are good, all is true, you are light, breaking through. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Speak what is true.
Speak what is true. Well, if you can, let's just gather around those of us who are here. Let's close, as we close today, around the altar. In a recommitment of ourselves, that we will push ourselves to the side. We will recommit, to put God first, to seek what He wants, and to ask Him to, as we offer our hearts, speak what is true to us, Father. Lord, here's my heart. Speak what's true. And we want to hear you speaking today. May we hear with open ears and open hearts. For you have told us that the way of the cross is the way of true life. We hear, oh God. So help us to keep that central symbol of our faith ever alive. May the cross remind us that there is really no such thing as casual Christianity. May the cross signify for us not only a past event, but also an ongoing commitment from you to us and from us to you. May the cross inform us that the flow of the Spirit in our midst is filled with cross currents that are dangerous to ignore and invigorating to navigate. Lord, use our lives to bear witness to a real unredeeming love. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. God of strength and excitement, you give us reason to celebrate today, for we remember that Jesus risked Himself for the needs of His sisters and brothers. So give us the resolution and faith to follow Jesus' example. Encourage us to become bold adventurers in life who seek to enter God's realm by following the way of the gentle hero who taught us the way. Here's our heart, Lord. Do what is right and true. What we need is what we want. Lord, would you enable us to be persistent in the exercise of faithfulness? Hold before us the model of Jesus who worked ceaselessly to reveal your will and yet never missed a moment of life's joy, who saw so clearly amid the spiritual blindness of others, who dared the practice of love in a world more practiced in apathy, who asked and risked living with a passion. How bold Jesus seems to us, for we can be deflected from faithfulness by our fears of challenging the way things are or the powers that be. Oh, how much we need the kind of trust that Jesus had. A trust that did not take a detour around the cross, but rather relied upon God's power to open up the possibilities through it and beyond it. So here's our heart, Lord. Here's our heart, Lord. Here's our life, Lord. Speak what is true. So, Father God, sharpen our ability to appreciate the way of Jesus this morning. Help us to develop a strong sensitivity to gracious moments every day. Lord, again today we place you as King of our hearts and lives afresh and anew today. We place you as King of our church. We commit today that it's that you we trust. We trust you to handle our lives. Give us the grace and the motivation to actually live out our faith in you, to the point that others will be drawn to you because of our faith and our commitment to you. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Now do what and say what is truth. And may my response be yes to your will and to your way every day, through the one who empowers us to say, all glory and honor to you. You are the one we worship today. You are the King of our life. You are the King of our church. You are first. Not me, not anyone else, not how I feel, but how you are, how you want me to be. Speak. So, Father, here we are. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. And when we are in conversation with each other, Lord, help us to remember to point each other, to be accountable to each other, to point each other to Christ. Have you checked Christ? What does Jesus want for you to do? Here's our heart, Lord. Here's our life. Speak what is true. And may you be praised, and may you be glorified. For it's all in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, just stand where you are and receive the benediction. We go from this place today with gratitude. Right? With gratitude. We just finished Thanksgiving. But may we go from here realizing that we are the children of the King.
Amen.
And may He remain first place in our lives as we live throughout this week and beyond. And may by our living we express who we serve and why we do what we do. For the kingdom's sake. And may the peace of Christ be with you all.
Also with you.
Thank you. May God bless you. Go home. Be safe. Make sure you got plenty of heat.